Hi, Tyler from Infidelity here. Today we're going to talk about Sennheiser's new Urbanite headphone. This is a $199 sealed on-ear headphone from Sennheiser intended for the millennial audience. It's a lot of people call it their answer to Beats by Dre Solo 2. Of course, they've been working on it for a lot longer than the Solo 2 has been out. And I don't think that Sennheiser is really looking directly at Beats as they plan their strategies. Beats has so much of a market share that competing and winning against Beats means winning pretty much the entire marketplace. So really, Sennheiser has free reign to try to gain market share out there in the big audience and take it away from Beats. But for the most part, I think it's about gaining market share amongst target audiences, and Sennheiser seems to be doing that quite well. First with their Momentum headphone. This is the Momentum on-ear headphone, and of course it's a very stylish headphone, very good looking headphone, and obviously its intended audience is a little more upscale than the millennial crowd. So they've come out with the Urbanite to directly focus on the younger folks, and I think this is a terrific headphone for that application. The build quality is absolutely stellar. I've taken these headphones apart, and if you go to the article on Infidelity, you can see some pictures of the inside of this guy. They are very, very well constructed indeed. They've got two stainless steel hinges that are extremely durable and work very well for the intended purpose. Clicks open and stays open, no rattling. The ear pads slide up and down on what looks like some nylon runners that are in this little assembly here on this aluminum piece. This end part of the arm is aluminum, and very, very nice, smooth adjustment. No clicks, but nice and firm. Stays in place once it's in place. These cable guides here are appears to be like a silicon rubber material, and they slide in and out of the ear capsules. There's a little curly section of wire in there that give it some free space to move. This adjustment is very nice, and it works well in terms of folding up and not crimping the cables. The cables don't get in the way of your head here, so that's a very nice design. The ear pads are a velour-like material over a medium density memory foam and are very, very comfortable indeed. I found these headphones comfortable for pretty long listening sessions. I spent a lot of time laying in bed watching movies and stuff, and they are absolutely terrific in terms of comfort. The headband is, I think there's some steel in there. It's hard to tell exactly because I really couldn't get them apart. It has this silicon rubber-like material that's a headband, that's the head pad. I don't think there's any foam under there. It's just the shape of this material that gives it some cushion. It is quite pliable and soft for small excursions, and there's really not a lot of weight on top of your head. So I found this does a pretty good, even though it just only touches at the top of your head, I did find it that it didn't make a hot spot on top of my head, or there wasn't too much pressure in one place. So it did a good job of distributing the weight. In terms of durability, these headphones are pretty durable and should take a pretty good beating. Very good plastics that were built here. The construction is really nice. I did take them apart and play with them. So I think these are going to last a good long time. The cable attaches to the left ear capsule. You do have to turn it to remove it, and there is a locking mechanism in here. It's a 2.5 millimeter tip ring sleeve plug that goes into this jack. The jack is somewhat recessed, so aftermarket cables are going to be hard to find for this. With the locking mechanism in there, there isn't a lot of free space to get a different shaped plug into that hole. I have the Apple version of the cable. There is a 3-button remote here. It's a little bit large and it's a little bit high on the cable. You can see that you really can't easily see it from wearing the headphones, but it's large enough and there's enough information tactily on there to find the right button pretty reliably. So I thought it worked pretty well. Cable's 48 inches long. I usually like about 52 inches, but this is close enough. The one problem I have with this, there's a 90-degree angle connector on it, which is nice, better than a straight connector, but there's not a lot of reach on this connector, and I did find that it interfered with my OtterBox Defender case on my Samsung Galaxy S3, and it would occasionally pop out just a little bit, which would put the player on pause, and I'd have to go back in and refidget. I really wish people would make a little bit more reach on these connectors so they could get in through protective cases, and also of course I prefer a 45-degree angle plug on here. You can still get some strain on the jacks with a 90-degree angle connector. Nonetheless, it's very nicely made, so give it a little bit of pass on that. Let's see accessories. Well, this is the only accessory that comes with the Urbanite. A flimsy little bag. I thought that this was a little bit weak, although I have to say for $199 there is a whole lot of stuff going on in these headphones, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sennheiser made a trade-off there and said, well, we'd rather put the money into the headphones than the traveling case. Well, so be it. These are certainly durable enough to throw into your bag and not worry about little bag or not. So sound quality, well, these are quite good. I'd say it's a very tough category, this $200 on-air category right now. There's a lot of contenders. The intended audience for this headphone are folks born between sort of 1984 and the year 2000, the millennials. So these are folks that are in their late teens and 20s at the moment, and will likely be playing streaming stuff or highly dynamically compressed music that is harsh and rather annoying sounding. And I think the sound of the Sennheiser Urbanite will soften that blow quite a bit. The bass response is absolutely excellent on these headphones, really among the best I've heard in an on-air headphone. Very tight, very low distortion, really impactive. Bass is done really, really well on here, as are the mids. Bass to mid transition is very, very good. And sounds terrific. You got a nice warm liquid mid-range, so that's all real good. The problem occurs up above about 2,000 hertz or so, which is sort of in the midst of the low treble. These start to roll off, and they roll off substantially up to about 10K and are probably 5 to 10 dB in various places off the pace in that area. So these are a somewhat veiled sounding headphone with a reduced treble. Up above 10K, they're about in line though, so this reduced treble has a little bit of sparkle left in it, a little bit of detail. The treble that's there is fairly well articulated and noise free, so it does a good job of imaging and so on and so forth. Within reason, but still the trebles are rolled off quite a bit. The problem comes though when you say, well, what would I rather have in this category? And unfortunately right now I have 3 headphones on the Wall of Fame, and I'm going to have to put these up there because it's everybody as good as those other 3, but they're all somewhat different. So I'll go through those differences rather quickly. So as I said, the Sennheiser Urbanite has got a terrific bass response and a well-balanced mid-range relative to that bass response, but is a little veiled and rolled off in the highs, so it's a little softened in that regard. On the other hand, the Beats Solo 2 that I reviewed not long ago and that I liked very much does a better job in the mid-range to treble transition. Actually has a fairly a reasonably articulate up top, although it's a little bit low in level, but not too much. The problem that these headphones have is the bass accentuation, which isn't too terribly high, so it's a somewhat accentuated bass, a little more accentuated than these, and it does have fairly good quality, but that accentuation extends up into the mid-range and makes these headphones sound kind of thick. So whereas these are veiled and rolled off on the top, these are thick with too much upper bass and low mid-range emphasis. But they do a better job in the treble. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other there, sort of. The V-Moda XS, which is also an on-ear headphone in this category and a headphone that I like very much, it does probably the best job of this group in terms of overall balance. So the overall tonality of these headphones is probably the best of the group, but the bass is somewhat looser sounding and has more distortion in it than either the Urbanite or the Solo 2. And the treble is a little bit hazy, a little bit, saying that it's tizzy maybe going a little bit too far, but it's a little hazy. There's a little bit of indistinctness up in the treble that causes it to lack that last bit of clarity and so forth. So these headphones, while they're better balanced tonally across the board, the bass is a little loose and the treble is a little bit inarticulate. Lastly, the Sennheiser Momentum on-ear, which is a pretty darn good headphone. It probably has the best treble response of all these headphones. But like the V-Moda SX, its bass is not as tight and impactive. There's some distortion in the bass. And also the frequency response is probably more uneven than the other headphones here, with a slightly U-shaped response withdrawn mid-range, a little bit overemphasized on the bottom and the top. So I'm faced with the quandary of putting yet another headphone up on the wall of fame when there's already 3 in the $200 to $300 slot for on-ear headphones, something that I really don't want to do. So I've decided that I'm going to take the Momentum on-ear off of the wall of fame, as has the sort of most uneven response, can sound a little bit U-shaped in its frequency response in terms of being lacking a little mid-range. The Momentum on-ear, while it's a terrific headphone, has the better treble response of the group. It's the more uneven of the group and also has this poor bass response. So it's a very good headphone. Certainly continue to recommend it for those who like the styling and so on and so forth, and enjoy a nice clean treble response. And we're going to put the Urbanite up on the wall of fame as an absolutely terrific headphone for folks in that millennial age. Has really good isolation, good as a mobile walking around, good as a mobile walking around headphone. I really like it. And this headphone actually sits around my neck better than all these other headphones, so it's got that advantage going for it. If you have the chance, I'll put up a URL here to link to. This is Sennheiser Urbanite's new microsite with their advertising campaign. Please feel free to look to the videos there. They're quite memorable and unusual, even weird, but they're kind of fun, so have a look at them. And please try to get a chance to listen to these headphones sometime soon. They're very worthwhile. All right, thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.